Now, before some of you head straight to the comments section to trash me, just hear me out first. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, it's good to see you again. If we haven't met before, then hi, I'm Goji Man. I'm a qualified nutritionist and soon to be PhD student. I do vegan health and nutrition videos as often as I can, which answer your health questions under the hashtag AskGojiMan. So if you have a question for me, then hashtag AskGojiMan in the comments below, or alternatively send your video questions through to contact@gojimannutrition.com. As always, just a quick reminder that I'm now offering the SIBO organic acid stool tests and consults via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video. Now, the goal for most of us is to live as long as possible and be as healthy as possible in those years. Now, there are many different factors that will determine our success. So genetics, DNA damage, telomere length, IGF-1, mTOR, autophagy activity, and so on. Now, we know from science that some of the best ways to improve our longevity prospects are intermittent fasting, and this has been shown in conjunction with a healthy diet to increase telomere length, induce autophagy, help protect us from DNA damage, as well as downregulate mTOR, growth hormone, and IGF-1. Now, the catch-22 for people who are looking to build muscle and resistance train is that you need to eat additional protein and activate pathways such as mTOR, growth hormone, and IGF-1 in order to build that muscle. So there is a potential trade-off between trying to grow muscle and not causing mTOR, growth hormone, and IGF-1 to become too elevated, as there are established links with these and diseases such as cancer. So before I delve specifically into protein and why I won't use protein powders, I first need to discuss IGF-1 and mTOR in a bit more detail, because if the goal of all of us is to live a long and healthy life, then we need to understand where these fit in around longevity and protein intake. So there is a lot of research that shows established links and correlations between high IGF-1 levels and also cancer rates. And you can see this specifically in some humans who have mutations in their genes that regulate IGF-1, which cause them to have abnormally high levels of IGF-1. These people with genetic mutations tend to have higher rates of cancer compared to wider populations. The theory is that IGF-1 is a growth signal that causes cancer cells to proliferate very quickly. So when you have accumulated damage in your cells from everyday life, and this could be mitochondrial damage or genomic damage, then there are signaling pathways that say we have too much damage in the cell, therefore we need to kill it off ASAP before it can mutate into a cancerous cell. Now, the signaling pathway for killing off the cell is called apoptosis, and this essentially means that the cell is flooded with different things such as calcium to destroy the cell in its entirety. Now, the problem arises when you have too much circulating IGF-1. So when IGF-1 is present, it can override apoptosis and say, no, forget about the damaged cell, we want growth, and therefore continue growing. So this is why having high levels of IGF-1 can become very dangerous, because it overrides killing off potentially cancerous mutations. Now, I'm oversimplifying this slightly because obviously your immune system is also involved in sweeping up rogue cells, but you get my point. So bringing this back to protein, protein upregulates IGF-1 in the body. Now, some types of protein will upregulate this to a greater extent, but regardless, even if you're on a good clean source of protein, overdoing it can cause higher rates of circulating IGF-1. Another massive problem with high levels of IGF-1 is that it helps regulate and switch off the FOXO gene, which essentially turns off the repair mechanisms in your body, such as stem cell production and also things like autophagy. But it's not all bad. IGF-1 is obviously important in the body and is essential for neuron production in the brain, which is called neurogenesis, and it is also a really important signaling pathway for muscle growth. Now, to bring this all back around to the main point of my video, which is why I will never take a protein powder. So when you exercise, it helps pull the circulating IGF-1 into the brain and muscles to assist in its important functions in the body. And that is all very well when you are exercising regularly. The problem arises when you are on a high protein diet but lead a fairly sedentary life. So for me, if I were to eat a high protein diet and it upregulated IGF-1 and caused my circulating levels to increase, then because I'm not exercising and pulling IGF-1 into my brain and muscles, then I leave myself susceptible to apoptosis override. So all the time IGF-1 is being used up, then no problem. The minute IGF-1 is building up in your system and is acting as a strong signalling pathway for growth for damaged cells, then maybe you are playing with fire, especially if you have a poor immune function. So quite simply, if you are on a high protein diet and you are loading up on protein powders, then you better make sure you are exercising enough to create a need for that excessive IGF-1 in your body. And another tip for you, if you are loading up on protein powders and other forms of protein, then I would highly recommend a 48-hour fast once a month or so. Doing this will drive down any excessive IGF-1 in the body, which will in turn activate things like autophagy and clear out any damaged cells. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.